there's something wrong, things just not going right. Let's put it all on the table, get to the bottom line. Things are about to ignite, just in a matter of time. And it is vivid as day, but you can't see the signs of a no. How many hits can we take till we can't take more? How many points you need? Prove it till you even the score. To the point where fear is knocking at doors. Bang, bang, hit the floor. But maybe it's all in my head. Maybe I'm asleep in my bed. But the reality is, in the midst of the battle, I'm screaming no more. Maybe it's all in my head. Maybe I'm asleep in my bed. But the reality is, in the midst of the battle, I'm screaming no Lord, do you hear me? I need you, we need you. Lord, do you hear me? I need you, we need you. Lord, do you hear me? I need you. Oh Lord, we need you. Oh Lord, we need you. Oh Lord, do you hear me? I need you, we need you. Yeah. Lord, do you hear me? I need you, we need you. Yeah. Lord, do you hear me? Lord, do you hear me calling? Lord, we need you. Cause maybe it's all in my head. Maybe I'm asleep in my bed. But the reality is, I'm screaming no Yes, yes. So, guys, we're going to listen to some more tunes, but please understand, it's about that time. It's about that time. My co pilot over here tripping. But I want you to listen to this because this one is lit. And then I'm about to start plugging my panel in for tonight. Get ready. Imagine a world where children run free. It doesn't matter the skin tone, doesn't matter the pedigree. A black child in a white neighborhood playing free, no police checking where they should be. This is true, this is true. We got our hands up, they still gon' shoot. This is true, this is true, this is true, this is true. We got our hands up, they still gon' shoot. Taught as a child the rules for how to be. One day we all will walk free. Pull over, step out of the car. Civil rights for one are not accorded to all. 60-second countdown before I start plugging my panel in. Y'all better be ready backstage. Y'all don't know who coming in first. Hey! 60 more seconds. I'm gonna bring in another panelist. Y'all listen to the sounds of the boy, the man, Raj Will on the West Coast. He out there in Southern LA doing it up. Slavery abolished civil rights in '64. If we all were free, then what are we fighting for?
A world without fear, a world without shame, a world where children don't avoid eye contact to avoid being blamed for a crime they didn't commit in a city they've never been to visit. But imagine this. Sirens roar to trigger an alarm. Wide and far, people come to protect you from harm. Those who abuse power are now being watched. Now they know the fear. Within moments, they're caught. It's true, it's true. We hands up, they still gon' shoot. It's true, it's true.
Uh-oh. Who gonna be the next to come in?
Hey,
Oh! Uh-oh. One more minute, one more minute. Can't judge a book by its cover, but when it comes to us, it's true, it's true, it's true. We got our hands up, they still gon' shoot. This is true, this is true, this is true. We got our hands up, they still gon' shoot. 30 more seconds. Uh-oh, uh-oh, we got one more, we got one more. We almost at capacity. I feel like bringing somebody else in. Oh! I think we missing a little northern flavor. Let me see if I can find some northern flavor. Hmm. We got a full house.
Fear and paranoia no longer an excuse. Before they can act,
Guys, we're going to get started in a little bit. Make sure that you're watching. If you're watching, share the live, share the live. We have more people coming aboard, but we are at capacity right now. So just get ready because it's about to get popping.
If one man falls, we lose the entire army.
It's true. It's true. We got our hands up. They still gon' shoot. This is true. This is true. We got our hands up. They still gonna shoot. All right, all right, all right. What's up, everybody? You already know what time it is, and it's not consultant time, right? Tonight, it's all things authentic. And the reality is, we are here as a panel because we are standing together to address the issues at hand. So let me just give you a little bit of lesson. So tonight's conversation is going to be real, authentic, but tactful. We will discuss race, privilege versus racism, privilege versus personality, and a power dominant society. So let me give you a little bit of context. Before colonization around the 15th century, race indicated familial lineage, meaning your family lineage and heritage. After colonization, Europeans encountered Native Americans and declared they were considered morally, spiritually, and cognitively inferior. After colonization, also, African Americans became the key to maintaining property and land. We were kidnapped and used for free labor, not sold, kidnapped and used. Stripped of our identity, our familial connections, hence why black men, it's easy for y'all to walk out the house on your family, but I'm gonna leave that alone. Stripped of our language and culture. The inferiority of dark skinned people was emphasized, which led to racial profiling, and we became the target of hate crimes. So let's get it popping. So everybody, at this moment, I'm going to give you an opportunity to introduce yourselves, and we want to start with Persley.
Can you hear me?
You gotta unmute your mic. We can hear you. What's
Muted.
going on?
Hey, how you doing? Hey, Lil.
So,
I'm
Percy, tell us a
Joshua.
little bit about you. Go ahead.
I didn't quite catch you. What did you say?
I said, tell us a little bit about you and your background and why this topic means something to you.
Oh, most definitely. I'm Joshua, and I first really came into when I was in high school. I went to a high school where we had, in a quotation, riots, and I was about 16 at the time. This was in 1994. And during these riots, I happened to be interviewed for on the news. This was in Phoenix, Arizona, very multicultural high school in a very lower socioeconomic background. I happened to be the only Caucasoid male on the student council, but happened to be the ranking person that they interviewed that day. And my thought in my very early development of understanding was your response to send helicopters to a high school, to send police in riot gear, would not have happened at another part of town where the population was darker skinned, or where the socioeconomic level was different. So I saw at this very early age how the way that people are policed by not only the police, but also by society, the majority, the people who hold the money and hold the positions of power, how that manifested in communities and how it was very unequal. A couple of years later, we had an incident in Phoenix that's similar to this, where they killed a man, the police, who was uh, a paraplegic. He had two prosthetic. He wasn't. I'm sorry, he wasn't a paraplegic. He had two prosthetic legs, and they lifted him off of these prosthetic legs and choked him to death. This later on became the largest civil settlement against the police department. Um, that was 24 years ago. Nothing's changed.
Wow. And Persley, guys, let me shout out Persley. Persley is also raising a biracial child. I need to plug that because I know we have people watching this like, why does this panel exist? And I'm strategically going in a particular order when I introduce everybody. And once I introduce everybody, I will explain to you why I went in this order. So the next person to introduce themselves will be Miss Tommy Girl.
Hi, everyone. I'm Miss Tommy Girl of Miss Tommy Girl's World. I am a blogger, mother, entrepreneur, career woman, you name it, I'm doing it. But I'm here today because the first and most important job that I have at this time is as a mother of 5 sons, 2 of which are 100% African American, 3 are biracial. Okay. And as a mother, I feel it's important for us to speak out on these injustices that we see going on, because number one, it's to a point now that before my kids get into their cars to leave to go to work, I have to pray for them. When they get to the destination, it's no longer just believing that they got there. Son, text me as soon as you get there. Let me know you made it. Son, if you get pulled over by a police officer, these are the things you must do, because if you do anything different, just by way of how you appear to be or who you appear to be, they may see you as a threat. Keep your hands on the wheel. Make sure to keep your credentials in a position that you can quickly grab them and don't have to reach into your billfold to get them. Keep it right there on your little cubby where your cup holder is. Keep it where you can get to it easily. So for me, it's a personal thing. Even me being an African American woman and being known in this area, there have been times that I've been pulled over and feel like I've got to present myself in a certain way because I don't want to come across as an angry Black woman or even question authority, which we should all have the right. And I don't want to take too much time here, but we shouldn't even have to question our right to be able to ask somebody, why are you pulling me over?
Absolutely.
Why am I being detained? But if my son asks that same question, somehow they're hostile. They're not wanting to comply. And here comes backup, and I got worried about my son's life. So that's why it's important for me to be here this evening, just giving a voice to that mother. And how can we change what we see going on right now so that we don't have to worry about burying our children before they have the opportunity to bury us?
Absolutely. Thank you, Miss Tommy girl.
You're welcome.
Next in line, Miss Laura. So, Miss Laura, we can't hear you, baby. We can't hear you. Did you mute your mic on your side? Uh-oh. She went out. All right. I think hers went out. All right, Stephanie and Frank, you're up.
Hey, introducing you guys. I'm Frank. I guess it's important to start off telling my story by telling everyone that we served in the military years, retired military. I'm saying we because we did it together. Stephanie is my wife. We have 3 kids. The youngest 2 boys are our main concern. Basically, we have a 16-year-old or 15-year-old about to be 16. And the concern is similar to everyone else's on this panel. You know, him hanging out with his friends, him in the car with his friends, and not really understanding the dangers it is just by getting a routine pull over stuff. So that's where we want to tell our story.
Yeah, I'm Stephanie. Another thing to say, we live in an area that's a majority, and just because of that, you know, our son goes to a school, everything is, that's just how it is. So his friends, that's how his friends are like that. So we have a struggle every day trying to convey to him how important it is that he does all these things that maybe his friends might not have to do. And that's not fair, but obviously nothing's, and it's a struggle. It's a struggle having to explain, you know, your friends can get away with asking that question, what did I do? You know, you can't. You have to say yes, sir. You have to always feel like, you know, it could pop off. So you have to live accordingly. But I think that with this happening, there's a lot of things. He's 16. So he's just now starting to understand why certain things are important. Even like with the coronavirus and all that, you know, he's a kid. He wants to do stuff, kids want to do. But I think he's just now understanding on a deeper level. So he's seen shootings before, but I think this was the first time it really hit, fully understood. My parents are telling me the truth here. Plus, this was
Absolutely.
This is horrible. It's just horrible. And there was just
absolutely
video, to where it was so much. But we need to see it in order to change it.
Absolutely. We need to see it in order to change it. Thank you, guys. All right, next up, Miss Laura. We still cannot hear you. Oh my God. And you're not muted over here. We're going to have to figure out what's going on. All right, while we're waiting for Miss Laura's mic, I'm going to see. Let's see here. I think we got Mr. Jose over there. Jose.
Hello.
What's poppin'?
Can anybody hear me?
We can hear you. We can hear you.
Awesome. So I'm probably the youngest one here. I'm in my early 20s. And I want to piggyback real quick on what she said. And she's absolutely right. I grew up not knowing none of this until now. Until I've heard about it in history. I've teachers told me about it. But seeing it in real life, I never had an experience whatsoever until now. And it saddens me inside, in my early 20s, I had, I'm surrounded with a lot of youth on a daily basis, and it's just sad, to see all of this that's happening in the world, and me as a believer, as a Christian, we are all one, one in God's image. So it's difficult, I'm here encouraging people, yesterday we had a peaceful strike, and I'm from Rochester, New York. And then from there, it became into a whole riot, out of nowhere, which now right now we are on an emergency curfew lockdown that nobody cannot get out the house after 9 o'clock.
We are too.
So it's like, I've never experienced nothing like this before, so so I just want to say again, thank you for you though, for allowing me to be part of your broadcast, which is awesome. And thank you guys as well.
Absolutely. So now we're going to open the mic for the gentleman's song you just heard. And he hails from Southern California. What's up?
What's up? Hey, how y'all doing?
Good.
Yeah.
So, Raj, go ahead and just jump right in about why you. So basically, what you're doing right now is introducing yourself and telling us why this particular topic is so important for you.
Got it. So I go by the name of Raj Will, and this topic it's one of those topics, that a lot of us, we've been knowing about for a long time. You can't really sweep it under the rug. We learn about it in history. They teach us certain things about what went on, in school, but to really experience it firsthand, from an early age, like as a kid, like just racial tension from whether it be Hispanics, whites, Asians, we felt that from all different avenues. And even on the flip side of that, with the cops, for me personally, I've been arrested for just sleeping in my car. I've been parked at a normal spot, getting some rest because I just left the studio at 3 o'clock in the morning and I don't want to crash my car. So I decide to pull over and get some sleep. And I've gotten waking up to police lights in my car, handcuffs, had to spend the night in jail, all that. Thank God they didn't take my life like they did one of our other brothers. So this topic really needs to be talked about. I'm glad it's coming to the light now. I regret that it has to come to the burning of buildings, the breaking of people's businesses, because that's not really what we about, you know what I'm saying? But of course, there's people in the midst that tries to take it and make it for what it's not, and you know, try to push their own agendas on it, you know. And I'm sure we'll get deeper into that. But you know, for me, this is personal, man. You know, this is LA, you know what I'm saying? We already had the Watts riots, you know, so we've been through this before, but this is just magnified to a whole nother level, you know. So man, I'm glad we all conscious and aware of it now, and be able to have these type of discussions with multicultural people, all different races, colors, you know, male, female, you know, because this is what it's going to take to bring about the change that we seek in the world, you know what I'm saying? It starts with us, you know.
Absolutely. So, all right, I got a couple more people backstage, but right now we're going to just kind of hold off for a second because I do have a special young lady I want to bring on in about 15 minutes. I think she has a very interesting perspective about what's going on. But let's just dive right in. So, first order of business. We have an epidemic and a pandemic, right? Now, the epidemic is what? The senseless killings of African American men and females. The pandemic is coronavirus, which is still disproportionately targeting, and I'm going to say targeting, because we don't have the same access to healthcare and services. So, okay, so we got mechanical killings and we got biological killings, right? So, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the epidemic and the pandemic. Who wants to take the first stab at it? Because y'all know I can go on and on and on. So, if Stephanie, Frank, do y'all wanna jump in?
I'll go ahead and start with the pandemic part.
Go ahead.
It's deep to say the least. It's deep to say the least. But the most important thing is it just comes down to our health. You know what I'm saying? We gotta, you know, especially being minorities, especially being young and older type people, you know what I'm saying? We really got to make sure our health is all the way intact. We're not eating the red meats, you know what I'm saying, the processed food, the sodas, you know, the fried pork chops, fried chicken, you know what I'm saying? We got to keep our health intact. That's first and foremost. You know, I try to have a green smoothie at least like 2 times out the week, you know, just to keep that balance. You know, but on the flip side of it, a lot of these health issues that are coming from, you know, this coronavirus or whatever, it also has a lot to do with like the devices that we use. So these days we always on our iPhone, we always on our iPad, we always on a laptop or a computer or something of that nature, you know. So all these all the lights that irradiate from the screens and the tablets and all that stuff is messing with our eyes, and the eyes are connected to the brain, you know. So inherently, if the brain is starting to get messed up and oxygen is not properly flowing through the brain and all that type of stuff, everything else in our body is going to slowly start depreciating, you know what I'm saying? So we just got to kind of be careful with the foods that we eat and limit the use of our technologies, you know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, that's what's killing us, technology and food, to put it simply.
Wow. Okay. All right. I'm with it. Okay. So we heard about the pandemic. On this epidemic side, though, because since we know what the epidemic is, it now moves us to have to start talking about racism versus the abuse of power. Racism versus the abuse of power. And so this is where we have to start thinking about what racism is, what power is and how they intersect. Because what I'm saying is, wow, we have a curfew too. What I'm saying is, racism oppresses, right? But you gotta have some kind of power over somebody to oppress them. And so, with that being stated, if you already have this certain power because of whatever your position is, then you get power because of a badge. Is that a given? So I need somebody to help me understand, is this epidemic the result of racism, the abuse of power, or is it both? And I'm going to defer to JP for this.
Short answer, both. Longer answer, I mean, it's all rolled into together because racism implies power. Otherwise, it's prejudice. As we say, where everybody has a prejudice. Is that true? Yes, it is. But racism is prejudice plus power. And the idea of racism is that in this country, it is structural, it is systemic, and it always has been. It was built in. Racism and white supremacy were built into our Constitution. They were built into every system that has been created in this country. And people look to this epidemic. It's not new. What's new is that it's being filmed. Thank God. The epidemic it's not new. It goes back to the very start of the history of this country, but it's older than that. But when we're talking about structural systemic racism in the United States, we're not talking about a system that has failed people in this country. We're talking about a system that was created to do exactly what it's doing. Nothing has changed.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. I agree 100%. Now, Miss Laura, hopefully now your mic is working because I need to hear from you. I need to hear from you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes. Hallelujah.
I know, right?
Let's go. Why is this topic so important to you? And I need you to take it there.
Okay. One, I was not raised in a racist environment. I was actually raised in a culture of African American people. And so growing up, they, to me, were just like me, no different. And when I married into an African American community, I was guilty by association. Just because of the fact that I was married to a Black man, I would get pulled over because they knew my husband was an African American man. There was so many things that happened surrounding my family just because of the fact that they knew that I was connected some way, shape, or form. I even came to the police officer one time. He pulled me over. He let me go. 2 hours later, see my husband in the car with me and pulled me over again. And I asked him, you just pulled me over not even 2 hours ago. So why did you pull me over now? And it was because my husband was there. You know, he gave me all these excuses. Oh, I think you mistake me. It wasn't me who pulled you over. No, I'm not dumb. It was you who pulled me over. And there was just numerous things. I mean, my sister had the same issue. Her daughter has a biracial granddaughter, and the dad was there visiting, and there was some neighbors being really loud, and he went over there and said, hey, can you calm your voices down? They were over there, you know, they were being very unruly, but yet the police officer, when they came there, asked him where'd he live at, what he was doing there. And he said, excuse me, but we're the one who called you because the neighbors were shooting guns and being rowdy and unruly. So it was just all these little nitpick things that woke me up to the fact that there was things going on that people were shoving under the rug. They were saying, It's not a racism thing. All lives matter. Yeah, I agree. All lives do matter. But when you ignore the fact that there is racial profiling going on, you are missing the whole equality thing all in general. There is no equality there. You cannot ignore the fact that there are people that are going around doing just bluntly targeting the African American community. And then they say, well, there's so many men in prison. I had an ex-brother-in-law who was in prison. Did that make him a bad person? No, actually, he came out here, redid his life over, started working a good job, started doing all these things, but yet because of his past, he was constantly tormented because of his past, because of the fact that he was an African American man who was in prison, even though he had reformed himself and come out and did better for himself.
Wow. So guys, I hope you are listening. And if you're listening, please by all means communicate with us and collaborate and converse with us in the comments. Guys, we have a panel of individuals from different walks of life. You will see different ages, different ethnicities, and different races, different religious affiliations, right? Different genders. Yet everybody seems to accept the fact that racism exists. There's a problem, but then there's another problem because we have these concepts of privilege and guilt. Privilege and guilt. So when I say white privilege, people get mad. But now there's this concept of white guilt. So let's just kind of talk about that for a minute, and then I'm going to let y'all have it. But by definition, white privilege is defined as societal privileges that benefit people with white or light skin and that are beyond what non-white people are able to experience, have access to, or benefit them. So basically, in my research, I found that white people are taught to identify racism as putting others at a disadvantage. However, they're not taught about white privilege putting them at an advantage. And it kind of goes back to something that W.E.B. Du Bois wrote about when he wrote about the psychological wage. And in talking about that, he talked about how the psychological wage is what enabled poor white people to feel superior to the same equivalent in black people. So as we think about, now listen, we got a lot to think about. We got to think about racism, which personally, you hit the nail on the doggone head, equals prejudice versus power. But we abusing that power. Then we got to bring in this whole privilege and guilt thing. Because with George Floyd, now listen to me. With George Floyd, we got a couple of issues here. We have systemic racism, direct racism, bystander racism, abuse of power, and white privilege. That's a whole handful of stuff. Or shall I say a knee? And when you put all of that together, did he ever have a fighting chance? Did he ever have a fighting chance? And I'm going to defer to you, Jose, for that. And then I'm going to bring Alex in. But Jose, because I know you're a little bit removed from this. What are your thoughts about that, though? When you hear it like that, what are your thoughts?
Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
So I'm asking you, when you think about this black man, who because he's a black man, he already has systemic racism, which is racism that's embedded in the policies, direct racism, because blatantly If I put my knee on somebody's neck that's in handcuffs, I don't like you. Straight up.
Right.
Then you got privilege, power. What's left? Do you feel like George Floyd had a fighting chance in that situation?
I honestly, as I was watching, because there's a lot of video streaming because of all of this, a lot of video streaming, and I was honestly the thing that hurted me a lot, but a lot is just the simple fact that, besides that cop, put his nails in his neck, there was more cops surrounding him, which they didn't stop nothing at all, just watch and look, and people were there screaming, trying to help, but we couldn't do much because we didn't have that badge. You know what I mean? We didn't have that badge. People who were recording, people who was telling the other cops to stop, that he can't breathe, you know? And then all these other cops were just watching. And I think that's one of the major things that really impacted me a lot the most, because it was like a show to them, and I've never seen nothing like that before in my life, I've never seen that until this past week. If you know what I mean.
Wow. And see, that says a lot. That says a lot about where this happened, where it continues to happen, and how it happened. Dale, talk a little bit about your experience, because this gentleman had a very traumatic experience at a young age in Ohio, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I was at the age of 14. So I grew up in a small town in Ohio. I was in junior high. I was a high school football star. The, lieu- the lieutenant of the police force in the town I grew up in, his niece, like she was really like into me, but the man didn't like it. So it was one day. I was downtown. My mom, she gave me like a $50 bill. I had to go to the store, break change, break the $50 bill. Saw some friends. They was talking to the officer and his partner, and my friends, they came to me because I was the popular guy in school. So I'm carrying a conversation with my friends, and then when I was trying to leave, the officer and his partner, they approached me. They thought I was carrying a weapon, which I wasn't, but they was harassing me, uh, trying to search me, and so I'm just telling them to back away. You don't have no right to touch me. Uh, they still grab it up on me. I'm trying to break away, so all of a sudden they threw cuffs on me, and it was a struggle to trying to cuff my other hand. But I'm asking them like, hey, why are y'all doing this? Why am I being arrested? So they was trying to say that I had a long belt strap was hanging down, so they was trying to say my penis was out, and a young lady saw my penis.
Emmett Till. Go
So
ahead.
so yeah. So anyhow, they cuffed me, took me into the station. So they rolled up on a report saying in the midst of them trying to arrest me, I was thrown against the car. Uh, yeah, this resisting arrest, and they had to get forceful with me. Then a decency exposure. So they took me to the jail, and it was processing me in. They thought I was 18 years old at the time. But again, I was 14. I played football. I was in the gym. I was big for my age. So they was trying to throw me in the cell with these guys who were 18, 20 some years old, had did a vicious murder, and killed a lady, an older lady, had burned her house down while she was like taking her last breath. So they was trying to throw me in the cell with these guys. My mom, my uncle came to the jailhouse, whatever, and so they demand for them to uncuff me and get me out. So anyhow, make long story short, we got the NAACP involved.
Did they do anything?
Not much really happened.
Okay.
So I had some serious charges. So in order for those charges not to stick, I had to go through a boot camp. And I had to go to the boot camp through the summer. So I couldn't play football in my 8th grade year because I was in boot camp. So these officers, they got administrative leave with pay for 6 months. That's what happened.
So, okay, hold on. So we have a group of individuals that get rewarded for bad behavior, but then we got a group of individuals that get killed for perceived bad behavior. This makes no sense to me. But what I'm gonna do is I want to bring Alex in, and then Frank and Stephanie, I want you to get ready because I need to hear from you guys about privilege, but just basic privilege. And then we're gonna add in the other piece. Alex, welcome, my dear.
Hi, everyone. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I want to make sure we can hear. I'm going to start talking and then no one can hear me. But I hate that, everything had to come to this. But to be honest, look how everything has happened over the years. And it's crazy because before all this, I had a friend that said I got pulled over. And it was second nature. I instantly got scared for them. Now, why? Just because they got pulled over, because of everything that's going on. I already knew that the risk was high, that it can go left for them. But whatever it was like, it's probably like 11 o'clock at night or something like that. Nobody else on the road. But that's sad that you instantly get scared to get pulled, for them to get pulled over because that it's a risk that they could be killed. I hate to say it like that, but that something can happen. But I hate that, this is not the first thing or the first incident that somebody's been killed. This has been happening for years and years before we were born. And we still at this space where it's still happening. It's still happening, still going on. And it's like, we're still here. And what's even more sad, some people still don't get it. They're like, okay, I've been seeing some ignorant status like, oh, well, people die every day. And I'm like, are you really comparing people dying every day to this? It's a big difference here. I'm like, but that's the problem right there. You have people that still don't get it. I'm like, that's the problem right there. And some of those people that don't get it, guess what? They work in law enforcement. They're the main people. They're like, well, people die.
Now that's a word right there. So let's hit that. Because, guys, people that are checking in, this is the revolutionary conversation on all things authentic. And it's a multicultural revolution because this topic hits each one of us differently. But what I'm hearing is some common things. That we're either guilty by association, as Mama the editor said, or we're raising children that we have to have the conversation with about you got to conduct yourself differently if you're pulled over by law enforcement, right? But what exactly, and this is for you, Frank and Stephanie, what does your conversation look like with your children? Because seemingly you guys are the blacks. And so by you being the blacks, you get some passes because you have a little bit of privilege, right? So tell me a little bit about what that looks like, being one of the blacks.
As far as our conversation with our child, or just, okay, well, this is real good. We have, it's so different between my conversation with my son and him. I know that he's going to come hard with it. I'm a different type of person. Okay, so I've never had an issue with a police officer. I've never seen my husband have an issue with, I mean, but he was military. He was always on the yes, sir. I mean, even, you know, just regularly. We've always come across, I mean, I haven't had a ticket since 1997. But usually I'm not around police officers that much. If I had to be, I never really had an issue. All the issues are things that I see on TV or things that I hear other people saying. So I'm not gonna hear and say, yeah, police suck and they like this and that, because I can't speak on that personally. I can speak on everything that I'm seeing. But I mean, really, that's it. And I'm gonna be totally honest with you. Mm-hmm. Really, every police officer I came across has been respectful. Of course, I'm gonna be respectful. I've never seen anybody else in a position. It's just really hard for me. I'm not stupid. I have eyes. I can see what's going on. I understand this is a very important conversation to have with our child.
Absolutely.
Also, well, I grew up in New York, in Brooklyn, and I don't know if it was the time when, I don't know, but it was like, it just wasn't an issue. Now I went to an all-white Catholic high school. Okay. So there were 20 Black people in the high school. I might be pushing it, maybe a little more than that. But really, it looked like 20 white people. I was friends with all 20 of them. I mean, of the Black people, sorry. All 20 Black people, because it was a need that I needed, you know. But it wasn't like the white people were prejudiced. No, I for real have not been around too much of that. And I'm so happy for that. And I tried to teach our son, you know, like, everybody's not out to get you. There are good people. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Like I said, I'm not stupid and I'm not a hippie, even though everybody thinks I am. But I really, but I try to teach him the way I want things to be.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Understand.
Now, me only raising him, I would maybe be a little more hardcore on stuff because he needs that. But because he's so hard, meaning Big Frank is so hardcore on that, I don't need to go there because he's got it all in the bag. But I don't want him to. I don't want his cautiousness to turn into. I don't want my son's cautiousness to turn into racism. I want him to be open to other things. I don't want him to be so. Ugh.
Yeah.
But then when stuff like this happens, it's just all messed up. This is messing up my whole plan for the future, for the world.
But
this is not helping me.
It's good though. It's good lessons. I mean, and it's a good balance between both of us, like Steph was saying, because I'm really straightforward. I mean, she didn't live the life where she worried, where I did. And I was also taught that you need to do this and this and this because I need you to come home tonight. So those lessons were passed down. And I still feel, especially the neighborhoods that we live in now, it's more important for him because he doesn't necessarily see it with his friends, or his friends get into something with the police, and he doesn't have that direct correlation with someone close to him. So I need to be more cognizant of him being that guy. He's going to example if he doesn't act accordingly. So that's my biggest concern. If we was in a different neighborhood and everyone looked like us, then he would probably come across that a little bit more. He doesn't see it, so he almost doesn't believe it.
Which is what I said you gotta
do. You know what I mean? Now the eyes are opening up now.
Absolutely. And that's why I wanted you guys to speak, because the interesting thing is that I didn't grow up being taught to fear the police. I didn't grow up, hell, the police used our house a lot of the time, our basement for stuff. But what I did witness was things happen to my neighbors, right? And I did witness things happening to my peers. But the other part of it is I was born to parents who lived during a time when they were judged by the color of their skin and not by the content of their character. So just like Frank and Stephanie have a balance, my mother has always been militant, but my father was yes, a master, no, sir, master. You follow all rules and regulations. Well, anybody that know Lily Mae know that I'm the rule breaker. But luckily, I was taught respect. So, like you, Miss Steffi, I never had a run-into with the law. You know what I'm saying? I never had to deal with that. But my systemic racism came through the public education system. That's where I was discriminated against. So I can understand that when we go through the public education system, we are being conditioned to be good citizens. Anybody that knows the story of American education will know that education was designed for the boys, right? Education was designed for the boys and not for little black boys. It was designed to teach them military skills and to teach them civic participation, how to be a good citizen. So public education wasn't for everybody. And I say that to say public education adds to privilege because there's a difference in education. Hence why I say one of the worst things that ever happened was the integration of schools. Because if you look at schools before integration and you look at the people that came out of separate schools, they know who they are and they're not out here acting a damn fool. They understand who they are, and while they experience systemic and direct racism, because they know who they are responsible and they hold themselves accountable. So, Miss Tommy Girl, I'm deferring to you because I know that you're in a different area. See, Frank and Stephanie are in a good area. They're in a good area. They're in a safe area for their kids. But see, Miss Tommy Girl, she's in an area in Georgia like where I grew up in Danville, Virginia. So, Miss Tommy Girl, what is your conversation like with your boys? There you go.
Okay. All right. She got me unmuted. Great. First and foremost, let me just say this. I, for one, I live in Macon, Georgia. Anybody that knows about Macon knows that we're separated by the east side, the south side, the west side, and the north side. I grew up on the east side. There's different gangs on each side of town. The north side is the more quote unquote privileged side of town where you're educated people, your doctors, your lawyers, your entrepreneurs, people who are really trying to move away from, you know, the things that are not so good. Okay. So I grew up on the east side. Fortunately, my mom was that single parent who got up and went to work every day, and she set a great example for me to strive to do better than where we were. And while we didn't live in poverty, you know, but we didn't live in a $200,000 or $300,000 home either. But she provided. For my sons, having grown up the way that I did, I will say this. My mom worked at Fort Valley State University. Okay. So I had access to people who were educated people. I had access to be in the band and do different things that a lot of kids in my community at that time did not have access to. Me being the person that I was, I wanted to, when I had kids, give them that and more. So yeah, now we're living on the north side, you know. Do they have access to the gangs and all of that here in Macon? Yeah, it's out there, but it's not where we are now. I made it a point to do this. However, it don't matter what side of town you own, because crime can happen anywhere, and it hit close to home. So I can't even say that. But more often, but better said than that, for my sons, I still have to have those conversations, like I said at the beginning of this live. I have to tell them, you know, not only do you have to worry about the police, sometimes you have to worry about the ones that look just like you too. Because everybody's not your friend. Everybody may see where you are in life, and because they don't have access to the things that I've now made a point to make available or accessible to you, you may be a target. But my problem, Lily, is not even that. My problem is so many of us are out here as African Americans. We're talking about these social issues, and we've been marching for years. We've been marching since Dr. King was alive, Malcolm X, well before that. We didn't create racism. That was not created by us. We were put into an environment, and we're expected to survive it. And I forget who was on the panel a few minutes ago that said something to the effect of their brother-in-law, I believe, was in prison. And y'all think about it. These laws were created for, the privileged to be able to navigate through the system, but the system was never created for us. We've got so many Black felons out here now that once they go to prison, they can't get out and vote. They can't buy guns. They can't do any of those things. So we're setting them up for failure because they don't have access to good education, like you were saying. They're living in these underprivileged areas, but yet and still we try to hold them to the same standard, knowing that we're putting them at a disadvantage. So how is that going to be resolved? And my problem that I have right now is that we have so many African American people who says enough is enough. But until, and this is not, I don't want to come across as this being about race, but we have to address race in this race for us to survive as Black people. Absolutely. That if we didn't create racism, then the ones who create it have to have a louder voice even than me. I can only cry out so long and say I'm hurt, but I need my white brothers and sisters to also speak louder than me and make things happen. And I need my Black people to get educated. I need y'all to be teachers. I need y'all to be lawyers. I need y'all to be judges. I need all of it. Because if we don't start doing those things, but we think the people who are now up here being police officers, who obviously are a part of the KKK and God knows whatever else is out there that is against us because of racism, how can we get in here and change it? We're not even going registering to vote. So if you're not willing to vote to make the change, what can we do? And I know I'm all over the place, y'all, but I'm passionate about this because, again, I have 5 sons that I worry about every day.
We don't believe in politics. What I hear is, now I'm going through McDonald's drive-through, and Raj, I'm coming to you because I need you to talk about the song that the people listen to, and also I need you to speak on the question. I'm gonna ask the question that everybody posed. But Miss Tommy Girl, you said a lot of things, but the one thing that I want to point out is you referenced white guilt. You didn't say it, but you referenced it. And my question all day has been, okay, so I see more white people out here protesting. And I'm not talking about the white people that's burning and looting. I'm talking about the white people that's really protesting, the ones that are laying in the grass on blankets, the ones that are sitting in the middle of the streets, blocking streets. That's what I'm talking about.
Right.
And I had to think, Is it the guilt associated with what their ancestors or maybe their parents or grandparents did that's causing them to really want to fight this fight for us? Because I think Gen Z and some of these millennials, they get it. They get that, wait a minute, we gotta fight because they didn't create the system. And I know for a fact, Laura taught her kids that. I know for a fact she taught her kids, y'all gotta fight this fight. They can't fight because they didn't create it. But when I talk about this white guilt thing, I need you to understand white guilt can be healthy or unhealthy. Unhealthy white guilt is a person that won't engage in discussion about color. Generally, people that have unhealthy white guilt, those are the people that say, I don't see color. Listen to me, and I need you to hear me when I say this. Stop saying y'all don't see color. You do see color. I'm light skinned, Raj is dark skinned, Dale is brown skinned, Miss Tommy Girl is caramel. We all have different shades. I got a whole research study published at BCU on the intentional inclusion of race-based dialogue in the classroom. Color blindness is worse than blatant prejudice and racism. Because if you say that you don't see color, you're treating everybody the same. And I need y'all black people out there to hear me when I say this. You don't want to be treated the same. You want equity. Equity. What equity? The theory of equity is this in my book. The theory of equity says that I stand at 5'4". If somebody beside me stands at 5'8", and somebody on this side of me stands at 5 foot, we are each given a box that makes us equivalent to that tallest person. Do y'all understand what I'm saying? No, it went over y'all head. Equity is what we wanted. But see, somewhere along the way, Martin Luther King and Malcolm, they had the same fight that W.E.B. and Booker T had back in the day. So you're right, Alex. This is the start. We can't come together on anything. Because W.E.B. wanted to fight, Booker T wanted us to work hard, Martin Luther King wanted nonviolent. Malcolm X by any means necessary. But now, you don't have anybody. Because you got Al Sharpton that only show up when he can get paid. Where is Al Sharpton for George Floyd?
That's right.
Is it because George Floyd didn't have a wife that looked like him? You get what I'm saying? You cannot keep picking and choosing the battles you want to fight. And one thing, shout out to GJ Roots Queen, one thing she said, with us and white people fighting for us, they not doing enough or they doing too much. We can't satisfy nobody. And you know why that is? Because we're not satisfied with ourselves. But you can't be satisfied with yourself until you get off your lazy ass and stop allowing the system to buy you and control you with monies that weren't even created for you, with programs that weren't even made for you. But I'm going to step back. Raj, talk to us about the song we listened to on the way in. And I also want you to answer this question. If you were there, would you have jumped in to stop what was going on with George Floyd?
I'm glad you asked that question. That's the question. You know, that's the question we got to ask everybody who's out there protesting and everybody that's out there trying to take this stand, because at the end of the day, would you have jumped in and did that for that man? And touching on the song, that's kind of what that song is about. It's not just a song. And even before I get into that, everything y'all saying is so on point. The real root of the problem is the system. You know what I'm saying? It's the system, the educational system, it's the political system, it's all these different entities that's putting all these things that place us in a box. You know what I'm saying? The sister that said, We need more Black politicians. We need our people to get our education up so that we could now be in a position to put ourselves in office. We need Black mayors. We need Black senators. We need Black governors, you know what I'm saying, in every city, you know what I'm saying? So that way the perspective is on an even playing field, because truthfully, at the root of our people, we're not hateful people. You know what I'm saying? We learned that from being hated against, you know, but that's a whole nother concept. But going back to the song though, like I said, it's not just a song. I was blessed and fortunate to meet a lady named Dr. Talia Wachowski. And what she did is she created a app that can now help people answer this question of, would you have jumped in to help, you know, in these type of situations. Basically what the app is, you download it to your phone, and when you see things like that, you see somebody being harassed by the police, you see somebody in a situation like George Floyd, like all these people that's already lost their lives at the hands of police, you now go to the site. You at the site, not only are you recording that situation, but now you press a button on your phone. You, the attacker, the one being harassed by the police, you now press a button on your phone that alerts everybody in your area of what's going on. So in that situation with George Floyd, the question is how many people were videotaping? If it was only 2 or 3 people videotaping, they probably was a little scared to jump in. They probably was a little scared to, you know, take that stand and tackle that police officer, because it was 4 officers. But for somebody like me, if I would have had this app, and that's what this song is really about, I say hands up, don't shoot, God protect us now. They hate us because they want to see us bound down. No, I'm never bound down. Just keep them hands up and stay prayed up. Faith in God we trust, you know. So with this app, you can now alert everybody in your neighborhood, in your surrounding area of what's going on. And now instead of 3 people being on site, now you got 10 people. Those people hit the button on the app. Instead of 10 people, now it's 20 people. Instead of 20 people, now those 20 people hitting the app. Now you got 35, you got 40, you got 50 people on site watching this man kill this man. And now at that point, it's like, we for sure not about to let this man just die at the hands of a cop, because all of us against y'all 4 could be able to stop that. And not saying that it's going to turn to violence. I'm not advocating violence at all. But what I'm saying is it's strength in numbers.
Absolutely. And you know, you got to make that plain.
You know what I'm saying? So with all of us there standing behind that man, he would have backed off. He wouldn't have had no problem with it. You know what I'm saying? So check out the Protection app. You could find that out, find out more info about that at protectionapp.com. You can search on YouTube, go to Protection App Anthem. You can listen to the rest of the song. You can see the music video. I'm all about action. You know, we do, like someone said before, we've already marched. We've done the marching, we've done the peaceful protests, we've done the riots, we've done the smashing of windows, we've done all this stuff. So what's the actionable things that we can do to bring about change? 1, educate yourself, get into politics. Everybody got to go out and vote. 2, step in your community. You gotta know what's going on in your community, and you gotta be for all people, not just your people. Of course, we got to start with our people. So piggybacking off that, buy the block. When I was out there protesting yesterday, I had a sign that said, buy back the block, because like you said, Miss Lily, without equity, we can't go anywhere. So turn that into real life equity. Buy businesses, invest in businesses, gather with your friends and start new businesses. That's how we're going to have the power to really change the whole playing field that's going on right now. You know, so tap in, you know, the time is now. Be the change you want to see in the world. You know what I'm saying? Be the change you want to see in the world. Point blank, period.
Roz, thank you. We needed that. And we're definitely going to use your song on the way out. I appreciate you being here, guys. Check out Raj Will. He is all of that in a bag of chips, beyond average sound. Thank you, darling. We'll be talking soon.
All right, y'all be safe out here.
All right, y'all. Now, we're going to go to Alex, because Alex is getting ready to speak to you about the educational side of things. Then, I feel like Mama the editor is holding on to something up there. She got something she wants to say, so we're going to go to her. And then we're going to get JP to take us out. He's going to talk to us about some must reads, but he's also going to talk to us about a conversation that he's going to have with his son. Because, see, his son has a couple of different things going on, and he really has to have a special conversation with him. Alex, take the mic.
Okay, y'all. So I wish that I can stay on the whole night, but I am gonna have to leave in about 10 minutes. But I am an educator. I will be entering my own classroom next I guess next school year. Now I don't even know what to think with all this COVID thing, what school year we going into. But I did learn that I went to HBCU for my graduate degree, and we were taught that and that's something I didn't learn in undergrad. But they say y'all know that the educational system was not designed for Black kids. The whole curriculum, even the standardized tests that these kids have to take, once or twice a year now, they're not designed for Black kids at all. You know what I'm saying? So they set it up for the Black kids to fail again, like you said before. You mentioned before, we were, they were hoping we weren't going to pursue education. We were going to go and do something else. So that's why it wasn't set up. And also, they, build jail cells based on kids, little Black boys' reading level by, is it third grade? My bad. Okay, there we go. By third grade, right? Again, they already put it in perspective. Okay, by third grade, they're not at this reading level. More than likely, where they're gonna end up after all this, they're probably gonna go to jail. So they go ahead and start building jail cells, anticipating that that's what's gonna happen. And being an educator, the school that I worked at, because I am getting ready to resign, but the school I worked at is majority. The school is majority Hispanic and Black children. Now there are a few white children that go there because it is an integrated art school. It is a magnet program school. So I can't really say that we had a large population of many students, like I said, with mostly Hispanic and Black kids, with a few white kids in there. But I'm not gonna lie, there are some of the teachers, I definitely question why they even took a job like this at this kind of school. Because I'm just like, just even hearing conversations with amongst each other in the workroom with the parents and stuff. I've even caught a teacher lying to a parent about, and I'm like, okay, I'll let you have that, and then we're gonna talk about it later. But exaggerating stuff, and there are a lot of teachers in our school too that I don't want to put everybody in the box, but there are some of the teachers that I definitely question. Why are you teaching in the school system? You know what I'm saying? If you don't like certain little kids, you're gonna get a diverse amount of kids. Now we're not in a segregated school system anymore. You're gonna get all kind of kids. So why? And you can tell, and some of they can't hide it. They can't hide that they're prejudiced. They think they hiding it. They think they are. Like, okay, I can hide it. I'm like, I can tell that it's some of them that you don't like, and some of them, of course, you do like. So can't be hidden very well. And the principal is Black woman, and you can tell some of them have a hard time having to take orders from a Black woman. But guess what? Nothing you can do about it because you're the teacher. She's the principal. You can't do anything about that. But hopefully the next school that I go to, I know I'm not saying that I will always run away from these problems, because I know it's not going to happen. You can't run from it. But hopefully it's not to a point where I won't have support from the principal, APs, and all of that, and HR, wherever I choose to go to next. And so my choice of resigning has nothing to do with what I'm talking about. I'm just resigning because I'm relocating. Not because of that. I'm just choosing to move. Yeah.
Well, Alex, thank you. And look, the cat is out the bag because it's on YouTube. I have to shout out the online isolation series. Alex is one of my castmates, so you will definitely be seeing our show coming out this summer. So stay tuned for that. Thank you, Alex. I love you to death, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right, love you too. I hope everyone has a good rest of your night. Nice to meet everyone.
All right, so All right, y'all. So now I actually can get to the point where I can bring everybody back on. Now, Miss Laura, I feel like you definitely have something that you need to say. What's going on? What's bothering you over there? Because I feel like something is bothering you.
I think the biggest thing is we need to take it back and take it back all the way back. This is about love. We need to love one another. You know, even God laid down his life for people. We're to lay down our life for other people. You know, you was talking about, would you lay down your life for somebody else like Floyd? You know, my question would have been yes. You know, I would have laid my life down for somebody else. I was raised that way, that if you see wrong, wrong is just wrong. There is not a line there where you say something is wrong. I was taught that if I walked down the street and found $1, it did not belong to me. It was not mine. I did not drop it. That was stealing. Um, it's going back to those basic things of just common courtesy, loving your neighbors as you love yourself. You know, we got to stop with the just like you said, there's so much privilege and so many things that are going on in across the system. I don't care if it's from education to the prison systems. I was in Cut 50 up in Lansing, where they talk to family members about, you know, the strongholds and the things that the families and these prisoners are going on within the prison system up in Lansing. And we got to talk to the governors. And, you know, it's just saddening to see the things that even the prisoners go through. There was a young African-American man who got put in jail at the age of 17 for murder. He came out after doing his time and stood among these governors telling these people, I can't do anything to give back that life that I took. But he came out here, got into psychology, started, you know, trying to help the brothers that he knew was in there that were suffering with these same issues. And it's going back to, do you love people enough? Do we actually really love it? We say we love people, but do we love them enough? I mean, we can say that word all day. Love to me is not a word, it's an action. So when you talk about putting things into action, what are people doing? You know, as a white person myself, and you talked about like guilt and all these things, I think a lot of times it's not just the guilt, but fear. Why is it that people have to fear that somebody else is better than themselves? Why do we have to fear that the African community can come up and come alongside us and do the things that we do? Why is there even a fear there of any of that kind of thing? You know, why is there that division, that divide in there that says one person has to be better than another person? You know, why is it I feel I have to have the need to be up on this pedestal? Why is it I have a need that I have to look better than you, and I have to act better than you, and I have to have more privileges than you, and that my kids should have more things than you. My kids should have, you know, the best, but these kids over here shouldn't. I did a summer program about 7 years ago. We linked up with another church that had predominantly African-American kids. We brought them in. And there was so many of the kids, believe it or not, that clanged to me. And I couldn't even understand it at the time, why they came in and clanged to me. And I was like, Lord, I kept saying, Lord, you know, what do you want me to do? And he just said, you just love these kids. You show them there's people who actually care. And to this day, working along with those other people and these children, it just showed me drastically how much love you can actually give out to somebody else without looking at their color. Yeah, their color is different, but their inside is so different than mine. Just like I crave love and I crave attention and I crave better things for my life and for my kids when they were growing up. Everybody's in the same boat there. We're all, so why do we fear when we all can be doing the same things?
That's the
Our world
question.
would be a better place if we all could be in the same levels.
That's the question. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Mama the editor. All right. One of the things I want to acknowledge, and then Miss Tommy Girl, I'm coming to you. You made some valid points. But one of the things is you acknowledge the color. You acknowledge that. And that's the most important part. You acknowledge it. Although it's not your determining factor of how you treat somebody, the fact that you acknowledge it says to me, okay, you know what? She's competent. she gets this. You feel what I'm saying? So many people don't want to acknowledge it because they feel uncomfortable talking about color. The fact that you can talk about it says, I'm healthy, I acknowledge it. And that's definitely what everybody needs to move to. Miss Tommy Girl, and then we're going to have JP.
Okay. Hey, one question I want to ask is when we're talking about fear, that's a tough thing that I just listened to. And the reason why I'm going to say this again, it's not, anything personal against anyone white. Okay. Because I myself, have white people in my family from my grandmother down. My grandmother's mother was biracial. So we have white people in our family, in our ancestry, our lineage. So there's no prejudice on my end. Again, I have kids that are biracial of mixed ethnicities. So that's not where I'm coming from with this. But when we talk about fear, I hate to say this, but a white person is not going to have the same level of fear as somebody African American on this road. I've talked to people who are white friends of mine. When they get pulled over by a police officer, there is no level of fear per se, which would be on the same level as my black son when he is pulled over. Matter of fact, my son brought to my attention just 2 months ago, and I'm speaking of my oldest son who's 28 years old, dark brown complexion, long black dreads, thin. Okay. And when he was pulled over by this police officer, I'm going to tell you the first thing he thought to do, let me call my mom. And this young man is almost 30 years old, but he felt the need to have to call me. And the thing that we have to sit back and look at when we're thinking on fear is where this man, and y'all close your eyes and imagine this now, this man is on the ground with a knee to his neck. This is a personal vendetta that happened against him. This is something that this man, because he was white, he was not worried about all the cameras on him. There was no fear from him. He knew what authority and what power he had. And that's why I say it takes people like yourself on this panel who are of that group to say, look, if I have cancer in my family, I need to fix my cancer and I need to address that cancer. Same thing with me. If I know in my community that I have blacks that are hurting others, I'm sorry. Nobody white can come into my community here on the east side, the north side, the west side, the south side, and tell me how to fix how I'm bleeding out. I've got to check and address them because they're going to look at you strange. So when I sit back and say to everyone on this panel, we need to fix it. It's not about division, but you have to understand if you're bleeding out and some of your people are sitting here doing these things, if it had been the other way around and a black person had their knee on a white person's neck, it would not have taken all of this outrage, all of this, rioting to have them already locked up in jail. It wouldn't even been a second question. It would have been done immediately. And until we stop skirting the issues and really speak to what is really happening, the same thing is going to continue to happen. No matter how much we sit up here and talk about it. We've been talking about it for years and years and years. And I'm sorry, people now are at this stage in the game, they're tired. And y'all have to think about it. Even when Martin Luther King and all of them were doing their peaceful marches, that is how we should go. I'm not advocating going out here messing up your own neighborhood and doing that. But I do understand their frustration that they feel they don't have any other recourse. But people back then, they were younger and they were acting out in the same way on certain levels. But they had good leaders. And where our problem is right now is we don't have good leaders right now to organize to make these things happen. And that's on black side and that's on the white side.
Oh,
I'm
absolutely.
sorry, I
Now,
don't
now
see
that is
Chinese
true.
people out here on camera that is getting thrown all over social media. The only people that I see that are catching it on all of these videos that are going viral are Black people. Why? Because it's this thing in our society, this thing in history that we want Black people to feel inferior. Why do we always throw this out here for us? I don't see y'all doing the same thing or giving the same energy when white people going through the same thing. Because last I checked, and I was reading an article, and y'all don't quote me on this, but back in 2016, there is an article that's floating around Facebook right now, and it talks about white on white crime and black on black crime. There really is not that big of a difference or variance between those two groups and what happens in terms
Oh,
of whites are going to fight against whites and they're going to do crimes against whites more because those are the ones that I'm mostly associated with, and the same with blacks. But the only one that gets thrown out here on social media is Black. And then when we try to cause this divide nationally, we get this one case and we blast it out here to everybody to really put fear in everybody's heart. I don't want to have to fear the police. In fact, when I was young, and I'm sorry to keep ranting y'all, but I'm sorry, when I was young, the police officers that policed my neighborhood were like me. They
look like
came
you.
into the
Yep.
schools and they knew the teachers, they knew the students, they knew the parents. None of these people who are going into these Black neighborhoods know how to even talk to me. So when they're taught fear, and I hate to say it, even that young man that was on this panel that was in his early 20s, it don't take much training to become a police officer. I do know, because I have my ex-husband, he was in the military. I do know that they go through extensive training, extensive background checks. Why does it take things like this to happen to then say, wait a minute, this man has posted XXXXX, he's racist? Y'all can't do thorough background checks before you allow them to go into this community until somebody gets hurt. And now we have cameras that it's being recorded. But I hate to say it, this stuff has been going on for years. This ain't new, but we're talking about it like it's brand new. But all we can do is sit here and say, Black people, be peaceful. Black people, don't talk back about it. You can't kneel. Colin Kaepernick, oh, he got talked about for kneeling, right? So we can't kneel. We can't voice our opinions. We can't fight back. We can't do anything, but we're expected to take it. We're not the ones who wrote these laws. We didn't write the Constitution, but you want us to abide by it. So if it's justice for all and this country is made where everybody is supposed to be equal, where's the equality? I didn't create this mess, but you want me to fix it. Or if I can't fix it, because I keep telling you, I'm hurting y'all, I'm bleeding, help me, I'm tired of dying. I'm sick of seeing my brothers and my sisters up here getting killed. I'm sick of seeing a woman who gets pulled over for a simple traffic stop, and the next thing I know, she mysteriously hung herself, Sandra Bland. But what I am sick of is all of this bandwagon stuff. We get all in a hoot and a roar about coronavirus, which none of us should really be out here in all of this mess. But now we're put in a position to where now let me go and kill this man, blast it everywhere. Now everybody's out here putting their lives at risk and nobody thinks nothing is behind that. We cannot be that stupid.
Facts.
But we let social media spark us and tell us how to feel emotionally, who to feel it towards, all of this. Y'all got to check yourselves. Don't tell me how to fix the Black community. I need you to fix the white community. Fix them. Fix those bad apples. And I'm not saying every white, there are bad people in Blacks, there's bad in Mexican, there's bad in white. But you need to check your people. Check these folks when they get out of line. It shouldn't take us having to sit here and risk other people losing their life just to say, treat me right. I didn't ask for this. I didn't come to this land and ask to be mistreated. All I'm saying, care about me as much as I care about you. If I saw you on the side of the road and somebody was beating you, I would stop and try to help you. I don't care if you're black, white, green, blue, purple.
And that's that love component. That's that love component. I love the fact, and guys, you know, we have been going for like 90 minutes, and this is good because what I love is that we all have different opinions. Because to be honest, Miss Tommy Girl, I agree with you to a certain extent. Like, I sincerely like feel like, yeah, for some reason, we don't listen to each other though. It takes somebody to come in and crack the whip to get us in line. And I'm just keeping it a stack. But that's been my experience. You get what I'm saying? Depending on where you grew up and how you grew up. Like if my brother were on this panel, his conversation would be totally different.
Right.
We grew up in the same house by the same parents. But my experiences, and the crazy thing is that I have so many white women as close friends, but my biggest hurt came from white women. How ironic.
Mm-hmm.
My first experience with racism came from a white woman when I was 9 years old. So once again, it's like, it took the Miss Laura's and the shout out to the Mondules and Danville. It took people like that, really, to show me you can't hide or you can't be fearful of these people because just because this one person did something to you, right?
You address the kid.
It goes the same way. Don't be fearful of black people just because you see black people killing other black people in their community. Don't be fearful of me because I talk loud and I'm passionate, because that's the other part. The louder we are, the more fearful people are of us. You
and
get what I'm saying?
ask, why do they fear? Why do they fear?
Because we're animals. History says that we're animals.
But if we get treated like animals, think about it. You can cage up a lion for so long. Don't get afraid when that lion comes back out and attack. And my thing, and this is just my thought process, people in America right now, and we have to check this right now, because I don't want to see this get more out of control than where it already is. That's the truth. I really don't. But the thing is, when you cage an animal up for so long and you expect for them to continue to be quiet because you are afraid, and I saw this on a meme, and I couldn't help but say, I can't disagree with it. You're afraid that we're going to give you back, society, what you have constantly dumped on us for the last hundreds of years. That's what you're afraid of. And until we address it and y'all get rid of those cancers and y'all speak to those cancers, then all of the good is going to be outweighed by those cancers. They are killing y'all off. They're making even the good people in this community, in y'all's community, look terrible. And that's why I say it's more powerful hearing it from their own addressing them. And that's why I can say everything that I'm seeing in these videos right now, where I'm seeing more white people go out into that community and they're marching and they're saying this is wrong. And I see those white cops now getting on these videos and saying enough is enough. This is not how it's going to fly. I'm not going to cover up behind you for your wrongdoing. And every cop that was there and witnessed that man die 9 minutes with a knee on his neck, and y'all did nothing, all of y'all need to be reprimanded.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well stated. Well stated. Well stated. Well stated. Wow. Well stated. Well stated. So Joshua, it's about that time, because now I think we're going to hear from you and then we're going to wind down and start to close out. But you have a unique situation because you have a biracial son whom also has an interesting communication style due to autism. And if you guys don't know, here in Richmond, Virginia, we had a 14-year-old who was nonverbal, who the police slammed him on the concrete. And when his grandmother ran out of the house to say, wait a minute, he doesn't understand what's going on, he's nonverbal, she was cussed out and told to get back. So Joshua, how do you prepare? Because it's going to be, the conversation to me, and help me understand, the conversation is going to be different coming from you to him than his mom to him. So how do you work through this?
So first of all, my son is 8. So the conversation with an 8-year-old is going to be a bit different than it is with a 16-year-old. It is a terrifying prospect to be raising a brown boy in this country, period. When you add autism onto that, because autism and being in communication, affecting the way that you communicate, and also just seeing the world in a different way. People with autism a lot of times tend to be seen as blunt or rude. And I do tell people, to raise a child who has autism, you have to have good self-esteem because they will tell you all about yourself. And it's terrifying because the bias, the unconscious bias that is pervasive in this country against Black men, that they are seen as dangerous, affects everyone in this country universally, period. Every single person in this society grew up to some level with that idea, period. So we say, are we born racist? No, we're born into racist society. It's like we come out and it's in the air. It's pervasive, it gets into all of us. And unless we root that out and really work on that, we're not gonna get anywhere on that. And what I could say to myself, I've interacted with a lot of parents in interracial families, and I will say, just because a white person is married to a Black person does not mean that they're your ally. I have seen a lot of people who are interracially married who are ignorant.
I was not ready.
It's ignorant AF. Let me say that, right? Just dumb. And don't really, and it's in these comments that I hear, like sometimes, like, oh, biracial children, they're so cute, or oh, I wish your child had blue eyes. What you're like fetishizing it. People fetishize biracial children, and there's a lack of awareness. And to me, if you are a white person and you are raising a brown child, you have an equal responsibility to talk about these things. You cannot just leave it to the Black parent to talk about these things, to talk about these experiences. You have to be an equal participant. And of course, my perspective is going to be different. There are things that I will not myself have experienced that my son will hear about maybe more firsthand from his uncle or someone else. But it's an ongoing, daily, just everyday evolving conversation. People talk about the talk, we give the talk to brown boys, which is important, but the talk is not just the talk, it's like every day. It's ongoing. It's not like we just say this thing once and it goes away. And it's the same thing with race. And when we talk to white people as white people, I have seen, let me say, very little evidence over the course of the last 26 years that anything I have said makes much of a difference to a lot of people. Now, it's in those moments where you're not sure who's listening, because you have the loudest people who are not worth your time. Not every white person that I talk to or that you talk to about race is worth your time, because they just want to argue, just want to be heard. There are people who don't know how to listen. They're not worth your time. They're not worth my time. I would like to say, because people say, oh, white people check your cousins. Now, I would like to say that we can do that. Can't. Tried. Still open, will still try. But it's those people that, that I can't see. Maybe, that still small voice we talk about if you read the Bible. Like, you don't know who's affecting. It's probably not going to be, your racist cousin Vernon, who is getting online and posting, right-wing articles about all of this stuff. That person's not worth your time. It's not going to change. But it is a responsibility. There is a responsibility there. We try. And especially if you are a white person and you're raising a brown child, your education has to be evolving. It has to come in listening. It has to come in observing, because you're not going to have the same experiences that need to be shared for that child.
Absolutely.
So what do I tell my child? Especially with a child who has autism, a lot of it comes because sometimes I'll tell him something, or we'll have an experience, and his reaction at the time will be nothing, or it will be discordant. And like 2 months later, you remember when you said blah, blah, blah. So, it's just an evolving openness. And I myself, am open, will remain open to him, remain open really to everyone, because that's a responsibility. Now, I understand, I know a lot of African American people who, quite frankly, are tired of talking to white people about race. Mm-hmm. Completely understandable, because what they encounter all the time is white fragility, which is the most annoying thing in the world, honestly. But sometimes you're right. Like, we got this. We have to. Like, I will remain open because I need to. And it's not like we should be congratulated for being great people. We're being decent people. Like, I'm not here to help and save the Black community. I'm here to be a decent person.
Okay. Wow. That really, that's a statement. Be a decent person. Be a decent person. And I think that's across the board. I think that, Miss Tommy Girl, you said it. There are bad apples in every community. There are bad apples in every community. And it seems like the one common thing from everybody here, I hear respect. Nobody used the word, but I hear respect. And the reason I hear respect is because I see respect. We all have different opinions, right? We are, and the thing about what you need to understand is your worldview is generated based upon your experience. So if you haven't experienced certain things, your worldview is going to be totally different. We have a theological worldview, right? We have a spiritual worldview. We have a feminist perspective. We have a practical worldview. So what I need everybody who has been paying attention to this conversation tonight to understand is that the point of this was not to solve the problem. The point of this was for you to see people from different walks of life come together and not start fighting because one person's opinion was different from the other. That's all we see on social media. See, what the news people are not going to do, this not going to go viral. Because we not up here calling each other niggas and crackers. Yes, I said it. That's why it's not going to go viral. We're civilized. See, what they would say is, oh, those are those blacks and those whites. We not on here cussing each other out. So respect doesn't go viral. That's why you're seeing all these videos. But you're not seeing the videos of the people laying in the grass holding hands. You only saw one picture of all of those white women linked in arms to create a protective barrier. You're not going to see those. But from what I understand, that's going on in more places than just that one picture. Y'all get what I'm saying? So at what point do we check the media and tell them to stop creating this social unrest? Because that's a part of it too. But then you got to think about who funds the media. We don't. We do not fund the media because guess what? We are the working poor. That 1% of these United States of America that holds 99% of the wealth, that's who funds the media. That's why you get a different image on Fox than you do on ABC, than you do on CBS, than you do on NBC, than you do on CNN, than you do on MSNBC. But I guarantee you, if this were a news station, they would shut us down.
That's why I gotta salute you, Miss Lily, because you creating your own media. This is what it's about. You gotta create your own content that show the real truth that's going on out here, because it could easily be misconstrued.
That's why this is the revolution.
And that's why I salute everybody else on this conversation.
Yes. And that's what this is about, guys. I don't want these conversations to stop. This is a multicultural panel. And guys, I'm going to close out with this. Every time you hear multicultural, stop thinking it's black and white. Culture includes single parents, grandparents raising children, developmental disabilities, ethnicities, young professionals, artists, graphic designers. See, we got to start operationalizing stuff for them. And guess what? When I say them, I'm not talking about white people. I'm talking about the people over all of us. Because the reality is, yeah, we got to check our people. Yeah, you got to check your people. But they got to check their people, because guess what? The battle is that the elitists keep waging war between blacks and whites. Yeah, I said it. This war between us started by people with money. Because guess what? Money, power, respect, right? So as long as that 1% controlling the media, black people always look like barbarians. Crack was dropped. Right? So y'all get it? So we got to stop fighting ourselves. We got to stop fighting each other. And we got to be real with one another too. And that's going to require us to be real with self. Because there's a whole lot of us out there living lies. Hashtag Al Sharpton. Please come for me, because I'm waiting for you. Y'all need to be real. We have to be real. Yeah, we have some leaders in the black community, but as soon as their palms get grazed, flip, they like pancakes, flip-flop. So I need you. I need you guys, Alex, Jose, everybody here tonight. I need y'all to fight with me so that we can create our own news channel. That's all things authentic, because this is real news. This is real. Nobody would know the things that have happened to us because it's not barbaric enough to be on the news. Y'all feel what I'm saying? Y'all, once again, this was All Things Authentic, the revolution, multicultural that is, and it was called that for a reason. We came together tonight. None of these people know each other. None of these people know each other. I just threw them in here. None of them know each other. And not one person caused the uproar. Everybody spoke, they articulated themselves, and they respected one another in their opinions. If only we could teach our primary leader of these United States that very thing. And we're going to leave on that note. Y'all have a good night.